Welcome to episode 4 of Wendy's journey to Kona 20 years later. Today we are going to hear from Wendy talk about her Ironman World Triathlon experience in 2008, which was a most spectacular day in her life, and I'm just going to let her talk. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, everyone. So a little recap on the first 3 episodes. I did my first Ironman in 1997, second Ironman in 2003, the third Ironman in 2007, which qualified me for the Ironman in 2008. So I want to talk a little bit about that. In 2007, I went to the awards, watched Bree Wee win the overall amateur world championship, and I set my mind to doing the same thing. So here we are in 2008, my 4th Ironman on the Big Island, and I actually got a coach this year because I knew if I wanted to make it to the podium, which was my ultimate goal that I set for myself in 1997, that I needed to do something different. And so I hired a coach, and I'd done a lot of research over the years, and I was finally ready to commit to it. And I actually had other few changes that year. I moved from Colorado to Chattanooga, Tennessee. So my whole lifestyle was really different back then compared to what it is now. But it is kind of the same now. But anyways, let's just jump right to the race. I knew based on my training that I was really, really fit, and my goal was to do a 10-hour. I knew I was capable of doing a 10-hour Ironman based on what I did in Coeur d'Alene, which is what I qualified, which was the event that I qualified for 2008 Ironman. And so I knew I was really fit, and I knew I was capable of a 10-hour Ironman. And a lot of people told me, well, you really think you can do that on the Big Island? And I'm like, sure, why not? Why wouldn't I? I'm a 10-hour Ironman. I had a road bike. I still was riding a road bike at that time. I didn't have a tri-bike. It was a custom road bike, so I loved it. It fit me. I still have it to this day. And I really went into this event really calm. I just knew I wanted to do my thing, and I wanted to break 10 hours, and I added up all my splits, and I thought I could. My second goal was to be the first amateur out of the water. And so, let's just jump right into the race. The race starts. I was feeling super strong. I caught the best draft ever behind all these guys, because back then the women started with the men. And I just had a draft the whole way. I felt really strong. At about the 3/4 of a way, I decided, well, what happens? This kind of feels a little too easy. Even though it was hard, it felt easy. I'm like, what if I try to take a pull and try to get out of the draft? And I'm like, no way. I got out of the draft a little bit, and I came back into the draft. I said, no way. And so I just hung with these guys. And right as we were approaching the end of the swim, I saw a pink cap next to me. And I'm like, there's no freaking way she's going to get over the timing mat before me. So I was processing that as I was getting out of the water, how I was going to get my foot over the timing mat. And I did. And I had the fastest overall amateur time that year, which is a little over 55 minutes. So I was really pumped. It was a really good start to what was going to be a great day. And so I'm super pumped. I'm super excited. I go through transition. And back then, I used a heart rate monitor, so I knew exactly where I wanted to keep my heart rate. I don't remember the winds being too bad that year, or the conditions I know they were really, really hot. It was one of the hottest years, but I think the winds, at least what I felt, weren't as extreme as they have been in past years. So my goal for the bike was to ride just under 5:30. And I'm not suffering all day on the bike. I actually felt pretty good. I made the climb to Javi, made the descent. I was doing good. I was happy. I was smiling. I made my way through the bike course, and my bike split was, I think, about 5:36. So I was a little bummed out because I was planning on running, about a 3:30 to 3:40 marathon. So I'm adding up the time, and I'm like, well, I probably won't break 10 hours, but I think I can still go about 10:15, which would be an all-time personal record as well. So I kind of let my time that was a little slower than I wanted it to be go, and I started the marathon. And this was actually the first year I wasn't injured going into an Ironman. I didn't really talk much about my injuries, but I'm always injured going into an Ironman. So I just started running. I'm happy. I'm smiling. And I get to the first 5 miles, and I was looking. That was the first time I looked at my split, and my pace was about 7:30. And I'm like, no way, that can't be true. So then I started taking the second 5 miles, I started taking mile splits, and I was still clicking off 7:30s, and I'm like, wow, this feels really comfortable. I'm kind of cruising, and I see my mom going up Palani Drive, which is about mile 10. It's a big hill. And I was all excited to yell to my mom what my pace was, because my mom and dad were the only people I knew really that year that were at the race. And I just started going out in the Queen K, and I was really clipping off the females ahead of me. I had no idea what place I was in, but I just knew I was really knocking off the females when I was passing them. And I was still feeling pretty good, really in control of my running pace. And then right at about 16 miles is when you enter the energy lab. And a friend of mine from Colorado came up to me on my mountain bike, on her mountain bike. She was watching her husband, and she had told me there were 3 girls ahead of you going into the energy lab. And I'm like, no way. So again, I'm still in a happy place, and as I was running through the energy lab, it was out back, I saw them, and by the time I got out of the energy lab, my friend Carrie told me there's only 1 girl ahead of you. And I did the calculations. I knew I had a 10K to get her, so I didn't take off. I just decided I got 6.2 more miles to catch this girl. Don't blow up. And then I ended up at mile 21. I ended up passing her, and she was walking through the aid station, so I knew she was hurting. And I passed her with a purpose. I did speed up a little bit, and I didn't look back. I just kept running forward. I still felt in control of my pace. I still felt that if she tried to give me some competition, I knew I had it in me to keep running faster. So then we started climbing again at mile 23, and I'm like, oh, don't cramp. You can still blow it. Make sure you're in control of your pace. And then it was a whole day. I felt like the race was really effortless, and I ran down Palani, which is about mile 25. I'm making the turn. You go about another quarter mile, half mile down the Kuakini Highway, and then you turn, and then all of a sudden you're on a Leahy Drive. And I saw my sponsor at the time was Avia. I saw Julie, and she was totally shocked to see me that soon. And I just told her I think I'm in first place, and I just put my arms up probably the whole way down down the Leahy Drive, and I crossed the finish line, and I knew I was the overall amateur winner. Having never podiumed before, I didn't really expect that. I just wanted to do what I personally knew I could do. And it was really surreal. My mom made her way down to the finish line, so I saw my mom right away. The woman catcher said, how did you do? And I'm like, oh, I think I just won the amateur. And she's like, oh, cool, congratulations. And it was so surreal. I didn't know how to react, because my goal wasn't to win. My goal was just to go my own personal goal time. So that was the year I won Kona, 9:53:51.
I believe you also set a course record that year.
I did set a course record that year. My marathon split was 3:17, so that was my fastest marathon ever at that time. And I was just really happy, and I'm like, okay, it's time to get a tri bike. It's time to get some sponsorship. It's time to really maybe go pro. And so, I did a lot of thinking that in the next couple months, and I decided I don't want to go pro because I just won the Ironman. That automatically qualifies me for 2009. If I turn pro, then I'd have to qualify again as a pro. And back then, the situation was a little bit differently than it is now to qualify for Kona as a pro. So, and plus I was 35, and I'm only getting older. And if I was only 30, I probably would have went pro. But anyways, so that was it. I went to awards. Got on the stage, was looking at thousands of people, got this huge Kona bowl, and it was awesome. And I will always remember that feeling of feeling effortless doing an Ironman, and I've always wanted that feeling back, so that's been part of my why and my driving force of why I've always wanted to go back to Kona.
Well, maybe 20 years later, you're going to get that effortless back again, and we'll see how you do on Saturday. Stay tuned for tomorrow.